been so long since I've been able to see me for who I am. And we have a loving and gracious God, and He brought me through a lot of this. Even when I was down in the tank in my recovery, He picks me up and carries me through it. And tomorrow's another day. We can start all over.
Hello and welcome to The Way Home. I am Nathan.
And I'm Jim.
So we got a fun conversation today with Don, a life recovery resident who's in the latter stages of our long-term recovery program.
Yeah, we both have had the privilege of knowing Don and talking with him before, or even in an interview for the Rescue Mission's telethon this past January. So we've heard his story before, but we delve a little bit more deeply this time in a little bit longer format than what we had for that interview. So Don is a guy who exudes joy, and you can just see on his face, hear in his voice that he is so grateful for what he's been through and the transformation he has seen in his life here at the Rescue Mission. And it's always a fun conversation with him. You just leave feeling joyful yourself because it's contagious.
Yeah, that joy and gratitude. I think he communicates very well in that, since he's at more that middle age point in his life and just has dealt with addiction since he was in high school. So there's that process of knowing, I think, with him that he's now on, a different side of that. And there's just such a gratitude, and just how God's kept him in that, through the time, even when he didn't necessarily, consider that in each moment.
Yeah, I think you could picture somebody in middle age or later even who's been in addiction for so many years to think there's just no hope. This is me. This is what I'm always going to be. And Don is exhibit A on that does not have to be the case. And at any age, God can transform your life in an amazing way.
Yeah, and I think this episode gives a lot of, some clear ideas too, because, we talk a lot about, mental health, counseling, just in the nature of the work that we do. And I think there's some clear takeaways that you can see from Don and just what he's learned in the false beliefs that he's carried with him for, since his youth. And, there's not, that command that we have to live with this burden, but the episode will end with him just, talking about how to, that burden is off his shoulders now and that freedom he gets to feel.
He's going to talk also about the Genesis process, which is something that the life recovery folks here go through, and it digs so deeply into your life. And I think one of the things that comes through in our conversation is how valuable that is for anybody, not just someone in addiction and recovery, but anybody to dig deep into your life and understand why you are the way you are.
Well, and those things take time too.
Yeah.
It's not always, a quick fix when, you've been dealing with something almost your whole life.
Yeah.
If in that those things take time, maybe it takes 3 months, 12 months, and even more. And that's what we do here at the mission in our recovery program.
So here then is our conversation with Don. Well, welcome, Don. It's good to have you here and see you again. And you always just exude joy when I see you. You can see it in your eyes, in your smile. A lot has happened to you over the past few months, and it just kind of bubbles out of you. So I really appreciate that about you. You want to talk a little bit about just some of the things you've been through in the last few months?
So some of the things I've been through in the last few months are like my identity, getting to know who I am and where that leads me. I haven't never taken a look at that before. I thought I was always perfect and nothing really bothered me at all. But there comes a time for a change, and when you do that fearless moral inventory of myself, and I look upon what's inside. There's so much greater things on the inside, besides the world on the outside. I love everything about me, and going through this transformation in these last few months, I can see that, what, I still make mistakes. I still, goof up every now and then, but I'm okay with that because I know that there's, I am forgiven, and I forgive myself for a lot of the things I've done in the past.
What were kind of the things that led to you saying, all right, this has got to stop and I've got to make some changes and something radical needs to happen?
Yeah, on about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a time when just about 2 years ago, I think, right around November of 23, I had to make a change, and I was drinking a lot, and I couldn't find myself to stop. It was just like one of those things every day. It was a routine every day, payday routine every day. And I got sick, and I didn't really realize how sick I was until about the fourth or fifth day with not having none of that garbage in me. I realized, okay, that I have to do something about this, and the addiction that I had, and that alcohol addiction, it was a long time I had that. It was almost 20 years.
I was going to ask. I knew it was a big part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, that addiction carried me through some of the most hardest times I've had in my life, and knowing that now, I mean, I don't know if I'm happy that addiction was there, even though it did carry me through. But I don't need that anymore. I made a decision that this has to change. There's better things out here for me, and yeah, this mission is one of them.
Explain what you mean by like carry you through, because like there's always addictions, find themselves in those difficult times. But what do you mean by that?
Absolutely, Nate, and that's a great question too, because when I was looking into my alcohol addiction, it was numbing everything inside me. I didn't have to face reality. I didn't have to face, life on life's terms. I didn't have to do that. It was just a day by day basis. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about anyone. I don't even know if I really cared for myself at that time. It was just a destructive style of life. But yeah, I mean, internally, I was hurt and I was crying, and all these things internally. And then that alcohol addiction, I mean, it summed it all up. It took away all that grief, all that pain, just numbed me.
You probably didn't really even remember much adult life without having that as a Band-Aid, right?
No, I mean, adult life is pretty blurry to me.
Yeah.
Going back like into the Genesis process we have here at the mission, it's one of those things where we have to dig deep, where I have to dig deep, and I'm not going to say going back and looking at all of that is easy, but there are a lot of things that I just don't remember. It went by so fast, and a lot of my adult life escaped me. Reality just wasn't there.
I'd be interested to know more about Genesis and some of the things you've been doing, not just in your situation here in the Life Recovery Program, but how it applies to everybody. Like we were just talking about before we started, that everybody could really use some of this, right?
Yeah, and all of us guys that have an issue, we are one of a kind. We're elite, and we all have problems. We all have an addiction, and that's not just including us ourselves who have an addiction. I mean, there are other people out there who suffer from addictions. They just don't know about it. And us guys here, when we come right down to it, we need something more in our lives. We need life. We've been dead for so long, or I've been dead for so long, and then coming into this program in Genesis and taking a look at my belief system, who I am, doing a moral inventory, resolving conflict, all of those things that life has to offer on life's terms. And even without the addiction, that's hard. Yeah, that's extremely hard when you have to forgive someone. But yeah, I get emotional when we talk about this kind of stuff. It's deep.
It's stuff that people tend to bury and avoid, whether they have addictions or not. It's just deep stuff that it's uncomfortable, right? To dig it up.
It is. It's uncomfortable to dig it up, but then to express, what that did to me, and what those actions, my behavior did to me. And when I start building that up, and I come out and I need the help, and I start talking about all this stuff, it's Yeah, it gets emotional, guys. There's no question about it. There's that true change inside where I know that there is more to life than just not caring at all. You know?
People have like a perception of like what counseling and like recovery clinic might be, person sitting on a couch and talking about their feelings. What was similar or different that you experienced in the Genesis process?
Well, I do get counseling here. I have counseling with a gentleman here, where I sit in a chair and we discuss certain things that can help me and benefit me. But the difference is that when you're surrounded by residents, and you're surrounded by a group of men and you live with them 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, there's always, always, always something that can be looked at or something that can be substantial to me or to another person. And living with these guys, it's different than having a one-on-one conversation with a counselor. The one-on-one conversations that we have with a counselor or a psychiatrist, those are private. Those are private conversations. But I think at the end of it, if those private conversations came out into the light and everybody around you knew where you were at and where you stand, there's just way more help. There's way more help for you because the guys, hold you accountable, or they come back and say, "Hey, Donnie, what did you do?" Yeah, yeah. But it's not a negative thing at all. But there are some conversations that I do have with the guys that are private, and one or two I can open to when I want to get better and I'm having a bad day and I can't focus because I have all this noise up here. The counselor is a good guy to have on your side. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying in that is that it takes recovery, and where addiction isolates you, it brings those things into the light. It brings it into community.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And there's some of the other guys here too that I can't say, but we all have help. That we're not alone. I mean, some of these guys are seeing the same guy I'm seeing, and it even though it's anonymous. We can't talk about what happens in meetings and whatnot. What stays in these four walls stays in these four walls, but. There's guys here that have to have that help too, and it's not just me. And I just pray to them guys that God gives them the strength to do that. And it's not easy. It's not, but that's what makes us strong. That's what builds our character. That's what releases all the hurt and the pain and the anger, and it gets rid of all that garbage.
What was your approach, Don, when you first got here? Did you resist a lot of this, or were you here and just said, "I'm doing this"? I'm curious because there's different approaches for different guys.
Sure, and I don't really recall. I was still kind of, fuzzy in the, between the eyes and between the ears, trying to make a decision of where I was going to go in life. And I happened to find the mission here. And it was a good thing I did, because at that time, I mean, I was on the path to absolutely going nowhere. My job was on the line, and I believe that what I did and where I've came from, I'm just blessed to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked before about the ID badge that you carry. When you first got to the mission, tell me that story.
Yeah, I didn't bring that badge with me today, gentlemen.
That's all right.
I was kind of
just talk about it.
Yeah. So I had my picture taken when I first came here, and I saw that picture and I looked at it, and that was like the first day I came into the program. I looked at that picture and I'm like, man, who is that guy? That is not me. That's not what I looked like, before my addiction. Who is this? And he reminds me a lot of who I am, because I know that man, and I still know that guy. I have to look back on him sometimes to reflect of where I was at that time and where I am today, and it gives me big boost of encouragement to know that, hey, I know that guy. I don't need him anymore. I still know him. He's still a part of me, but I don't have to deal with him anymore.
Yeah. Tell us a little about your faith journey too. You just said you've always been a man of God, and I think even through the addiction years, you would have said you were a believer, right?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, during my addiction and before my addiction. Well, let's go back before my addiction. Yeah. Before my addiction, my grandmother and my grandfather, my mom's mom and my mom's dad, they were true believers of Jesus Christ, and they came from a church at Christ Lutheran, and my grandma was the secretary. So going to church was basically, it was fun, even though it wasn't an option. It was fun.
Yeah.
And through my addiction, I've always on and off, I've been going to church. And well, this past year, before I came into the program, my mom and I were going to church on a regular basis. So I know he's always been with me. He's never left. But me, as Donnie Thompson, or Don Thompson, just wouldn't turn himself around to actually believe in who Jesus is, and what he can do for someone. It just happened recently on that transformation. So
nice. Yeah, I think we maybe that sometimes there's a tendency to think as Christian believers we're bulletproof, that addictions can't happen or awful things can't happen in your life, and sorry.
Yeah, you know what, and I like, Jim, it's funny you should bring that up, because I've been sorry for a lot of things in my life, and it's there comes a time when I can only apologize to myself for so many times and so many things I've done before.
Looking ahead, I know no one knows what's ahead in our lives, but what are your hopes? What are you excited about as you look ahead?
Well, let's start here. I mean, I'm doing a podcast, and guys, I listen. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, I've sang karaoke and I've been on a mic a lot, but this is an opportunity where I feel blessed to be sitting here right now in this seat, and having you two in front of me, and having the Lord on my side, and all of the staff here at the mission just comforting me and holding me, letting me know that I'm worth more. It's hard to fathom. It really is, unless guys like me decide to take a fearless and moral inventory of themselves and put themselves through a program like this.
Yeah. So as you look ahead, do you have specific things you want to do?
You know what? Yeah, I do, Jim. I do. I just want to stay sober and be a follower of Jesus Christ. He'll lead me down the right path. He'll lead me the right direction, whether it's a good decision or it's not a decision that is beneficial for me. I have to weigh the options. We all have to make choices. I have to make choices in life. But the program for me is just staying straight, picking myself up when I stumble and fall. I can't afford to be sitting down there anymore, Yeah. But gotta lead me the way, and I'm hoping that my education will come in here. I'm working on my high school education right now, and I'm so persevering through that. I'm blessed to still be able to learn, And
what's motivating you it's a GED, right, that you're going after, or high school education in some form? What was the motivation to get that done?
The motivation was, it was a goal that I had set for myself, and it was. I believed at that time it was reachable, and I still do believe that. When I was younger, I got pulled out of school. Hyperactive ADHD, had a lot going on, a lot going on in the family and a lot going on at school, and not be able to resolve conflict and whatnot. And there was just a lot of noise up there. And I got held back a year, and then I wouldn't have graduated until, I'd have been in high school for a couple of years. So my parents inevitably pulled me out of that. And I thought, well, that wasn't a decision that I made. Okay. That was a decision that they made. Whether it was the right or the wrong decision, that was a decision that they made. Well, at 49 years old, I thought to myself, hey, this is achievable. This is realistic. This is reality. I mean, can this be done? And I looked at it, and I did my language arts test, and I remember passing the pretest on that. Just being able to know that I can read and write. I mean, that's crazy. All right, putting apostrophes where they belong, the periods, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and I passed that test, and it was that was a huge self-esteem boost, just a massive self-esteem boost when I did that. And here just recently, the day before yesterday now, and I passed the pretest for the history, economics, and civics. So I'll be taking that test next week, and all that's in the future. I mean, it gives me it's never ending when, yeah.
Yeah, if we had known, we could have been quizzing you on stuff for your test next week. So.
Sure, right. All the pamphlets about that thick,
I was thinking about you talking about where to put apostrophes, and you're probably ahead of 80% of the population at this point, so you're doing good. It's got to feel great to finish something, I was just thinking as you were talking just about, there are unfinished things in your life that you can go back and say, I'm going to finish this. That must be amazing.
There's no words to describe that. There's absolutely no words. When you accomplish something, or when I accomplish something now, it means something. It's not just, okay, yeah, I did that. It means something. It's sentimental. I mean, there's just so many emotions that go into accomplishing something. When during all my addiction, I've just given up. I've gave up on everything. Well, that's not going to work. I don't even give it a shot. That's, just count the chickens before they're hatched, and just the sense of structure in my life. It's crazy wild that I could overcome and adapt something from what I was in to who I am now.
This podcast is powered by Rockford Rescue Mission, a Christian nonprofit serving Rockford, Illinois since 1964.
Open 24/7 and free to all, we offer hope and help in Jesus' name to the hungry, homeless, and those seeking recovery.
Learn more at rockfordrescuemission.org. Thanks for listening. So you say 20 plus years with your addiction that you lived with. Did you ever try counseling, or what was that process for you?
I've been in and out of certain recovery programs. Sure, Minneapolis, St. Paul, a good recovery program. Teen Challenge in Duluth, Minnesota, great program. I wasn't ready for that one yet. And then just a couple other programs here and there, 30-dayers. And, you come out of the program and I didn't feel like anything changed. Well, it didn't. The beliefs were, let's just work on the addiction. Okay, let's just work on that and leave everything else out of it. Well, touching on the Genesis process that we have here at the mission, you dig deep, and you come to like a realization of why I drink. Why do I drink, and why do I drink so much, and why can't I tell myself no, and why can't I stop? And it's from the past. And that Genesis process, that is a process where it will change you if you let it. You dig deep and look into your emotions and your feelings and all of that garbage that I buried for all them years, and it comes out into the light. And God helps you with that.
So I'm thinking of somebody, not specifically, but there could be people who listen to this or watch this that may have an addiction. And certainly your faith plays a huge part in defeating that. But are there specific things you've learned here that would say, this is why I don't have to drink anymore?
I've learned that I am not alone. There are other people that have or similar addictions that I have, and we can work together on this. We don't have to do this alone. and we don't have to feel alone anymore. And it's that part of the program where, man, if I can just open up to someone, just have that confidence in myself, to strengthen myself, to open up to, someone and just reach out to someone, and they may have something you're looking for. It actually helps me recognize my temptations and where I'm going in life, and because I know there's going to be temptations out there when I leave. That's inevitable.
Sure.
It's just going to happen. But we have choices. I have choices, and to try to stay away from those temptations that led me down that road before, I can look at that and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to pinpoint that. That's a trigger for me. I can't. We won't go there again.
Just having an understanding of that is just a powerful thing, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
and it has a hold on you.
Yeah.
It has a hold on you.
Yeah. You had mentioned some 30-day programs that you had tried, and we're certainly not here to run those down. There's value to those.
Sure, there is.
But it's so different to be in a residential, more than a year, basically, for most of you guys, where, like you say, you develop strong relationships with the other guys here and help each other through that. And I would imagine you wouldn't get a lot of that in a 30-day, right?
On a 30-day, okay, so the 30-day program, when I came in here, my first 30 days, that was my detox period, my
Okay.
first 30 to 45 days. I wasn't even in my right mind.
Yeah. So you're just getting chemically detoxed in those 30 days versus really digging at what the underlying issues are.
I haven't even started working on myself.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. That first 30 to 45 days, I sat here and I was like, man, what did I do? I still have the anger, of course, and that's shown on the floor. Don't talk to me, but after that first 30 to 45 days, you start setting goals. And when you start reaching goals, that's just the first step. My first 30 to 45 days I was here, I set a goal. I was like, I'm going to make it my first 45 days. I don't, no matter what I have to go through, no matter what I have to persevere, no matter whatever it takes to get through this first 30 to 45 days. Because if I give up now, I've given up pretty much everything I've worked for up to this point.
Were those first days by far the hardest here?
Oh, yeah, because as soon as you come into the program, they take your phone.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you can't have your phone. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not going to work. Yeah, but it was a piece of paper that I signed to the agreement for that. And you can't make a phone call for the first 30 to 45 days. You can't have any outside contact, no social media. They let you watch a little bit of the news here, You can't go for walks by yourself for the first 30 to 45 days. After your first 30 days, you can go out with an accountability partner. The program here, it works. It really does, and it defines who you are.
I was going to say that all sounds a little harsh, but yet it's all out of care for you guys.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was just having a conversation with one of the staff today, and I was like, hey, if I go back out to using when I leave here, it's not because the program didn't work. The program worked just fine. Did I have the willingness to change? And where am I at in life? Am I ready? Am I ready to absolutely submit myself to God and let Him take over?
Yeah, I suppose then you would just, when you'll have those moments of temptation later, you've got to look back and say, why would I want to do that, right? Why would I want to go back to what I was?
So, misery loves company, all right? So, I don't want to go back to that because I know where I was at then. I was in misery, pain, and all kinds of stuff. People consistently judging you, not because of who you are, because of what you are. I'm an alcoholic, and people will say, well, you know what, he's a drunk, and he's whatnot, and he's not going anywhere in life. But deep down inside, they didn't know who I was. And that plays a lot into, becoming a citizen and stuff like that too, if that was the answer to your question.
Yeah. We mentioned this at the outset, but whenever I see you, I see gratitude. And it's got to be just a fun, wonderful experience for you to be where you're at in life right now. And can you talk about your level of gratitude right now?
So I have a lot of support and I've needed it because I'm a sentimental type of guy where, I don't cry a lot, but when I do, I need the support there. Yeah, I'm grateful for a lot of things. I'm grateful that I have family, that I have that bridge I didn't burn. Okay, that bridge, my family had enough love for me to stay right with me no matter what I was going through. They were right beside me, and they know what kind of a person I am. They didn't judge me for who I was. Yeah, there was some, pretty close to fist comes to blows there, but the support there, and just at work in general too. There's a lot of support there. And I'm just grateful that I have God back in my life. It's been so long since I've been able to just see me for who I am, not for what everybody thinks or, because that doesn't make anything better, but as long as I know that deep down inside, I am who I am without the garbage. Mm-hmm. Oh man, it's grateful to be at peace like that, and we have a loving and gracious God, and he's brought me through a lot of this, even when I was down in the tank and my recovery tank was empty and I'm just buried, and he picks me up and carries me through it, and tomorrow's another day. We can start all over, and what happened tomorrow's in the past. We can't fix that, and I can't look into the future because I don't know what's going to happen, and just to be in the present. I'm grateful just to be right here, right now. And there's so much weight that comes off the shoulders on me. I mean, I have big shoulders, but I mean, they can carry some weight, but they can only carry so much. Yeah, but God, and the people around me are grateful for me too, because I can see them, saying, Donnie, you're worth more. You're worth more. And to me, when somebody says that to you, man, it's like, wow. I'm grateful to hear things like that.
No, it's kind of like what's going on in you, but then when you hear it from others, there's some validation to that, isn't there?
Absolutely, and there's just a sense of reassurance. Just reassuring that, hey, listen, you might be down in this situation right now, but you're doing what you have to do. You're doing the right thing. And when you have someone come back and explain that to you, and recognize that, it's a gratitude where I haven't heard that in a very long time. So hearing that every day, it doesn't get old. Yeah, it doesn't get old at all. It lights a fire, and man, it's a good one.
It's a great one. Well, congratulations.
Yeah,
we're really happy for you and for as far as you've come and where you're headed, and it just you're a transformed person. It's so fun to hear.
Yeah, I'm so praying that things will get even better for me when I achieve my high school education. Yeah. Because there's jobs out there. I've always been a hard worker. I've always done a good job, but I could only go so far without that high school education, and to get that underneath my belt and to put that one in my backpack and just move forward from there. That'll be a blessing and self-esteem boost. A lot of people will know when that happens because I'll be shining, I'll be glowing, and and I hope the people that are around me too, I hope they see what I'm going through and where I'm at, and just life, it's life, and it can be hard and it can be easy. Just don't give up on it, Just don't give up on it. And I gave up on it for 29 years. And look where I'm at now, guys. I'm grateful to be here. Absolutely.